Hi, I'm Sarah Bauer, and today I will be interviewing Miss Kellen Deffendahl to figure out her views on education. Before we start, I just want you to be aware that we're recording this for education purposes and that you're okay with the recording and posting on YouTube.
That's fine.
The interview will be 15 minutes long, and I will ask you some questions about education, and I just want to thank you for doing this interview.
No problem.
So, I have a few questions. The first question I'd like to ask you is what led you to want to become a teacher?
My mom was a teacher my whole life. She taught first grade for 29 years. She retired and then did not like being retired and came back to teaching, actually. So I grew up around teaching. My sister is also a kindergarten teacher. So they say when you're in the classroom as you grow up, you see what's going on, you kind of take it all in, and then you want to do the same thing, and that truly happened for me. I love teaching. I always admired my mom, and all of my friends that I went to school with had her as a teacher and would say, oh my gosh, your mom, made such a huge impact on my life. And I heard that over and over and over again, and you don't really realize the impact you're making until you actually do it. And it's true. I teach kindergarten now, and I absolutely love it. I truly feel like we make a difference in these kids' lives every single day.
And how long have you been a kindergarten teacher for?
So I was an aide at the kindergarten center for 2 years, and then this is my 3rd year teaching. So this is my 5th year at the kindergarten center.
Okay. What is the most rewarding part of being a teacher?
I would say the most rewarding, the most important part of being a teacher for me is just really the relationships we're able to build with our students. As a kindergarten teacher, most of these kids have either only been to school for a short while before they come to us, and a lot of them have never been anywhere. So we really are setting the foundation for their whole education just by teaching them what it's like to love learning, what it's like to be in the classroom, what it's like to build friends in your environment. We're teaching them from the base of nothing, and you see them progress so much just in a year's time.
Mm-hmm.
It's incredible to think, each year that someone could make that big of a difference in their lives.
Okay. And what do you find to be the most difficult or frustrating part about being a teacher?
That's a hard question. I would say the most difficult part is probably parent relationships. It's not necessarily something that you learn a lot about in your education of becoming a teacher. And every parent is different. They're not all uniform. You never know what to expect. So it's really hard to gain, I guess, the trust and the relationship between that parent because you don't necessarily see them every day, but yet they still want to know everything that's going on. And so finding that balance between, keeping them in the loop, but not being over the top and that kind of thing has really been a challenge for me. A lot of times too, especially kindergartners, it's still their baby. They're very protective of these kids. So trying to mediate between what the kid tells the parent, and then what the parent thinks that the kid said and that kind of thing is sometimes difficult to get the right story in the right order and that kind of thing. And communication is just especially challenging now because of COVID. Parents aren't allowed in our building. So if we want to talk to the student's parent, it's a phone call. And some things are hard to talk about over the phone. It would be much easier to do it face to face. So just having to kind of back off and not, get to see them. They don't get to come in for parties. They don't get to come in for any of those, first day of school, they don't walk them in. So we really have a hard time building the relationships with the parents over the phone. It's hard to build those relationships that way.
Do you guys have like a portal, like a parent portal you guys can communicate through?
Yes. So we use a platform called Dojo, and we use it for behavior and for parent communication. And they do have a like section on there. It's called like class story, and so it's kind of like a log of you can upload like any time we do fun activities. I upload pictures and say having a great day. On Johnny Appleseed Day we did a bunch of Johnny Appleseed activities, so I am able to send them pictures and that kind of thing, and that does ease their mind a little bit. So that's nice. Our school also does a Facebook page. And so every classroom sends pictures and we upload them to our Facebook page so that parents are able to see it through there as well.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
And then how do you evaluate your students academically?
So at our school, because they do come in at such different levels, I mean, there are some kids that come in and know their name, know all their letters, all of those things, and then there are some kids that have come to us and have been nowhere. They can't even identify their name. They don't know any letters. So our base evaluation tool that we use is called AimsWeb, and so we basically, there's letters on a sheet of paper, and we have the kids identify the letters. And then that kind of it's time too, so it gives us a rough idea of what they know. And then once we get those scores, we have a data team that collects them and looks at them and deciphers, okay, which students are going to need interventions, extra help outside of the classroom that are going to boost those scores and get them to where they need to be. We, as a teacher, get to collaborate with that team and decide, do we want to take the kids that are really struggling first and try to boost them up, or do we have a few kids that might need just a small boost, so one round of intervention might be helpful for them. So we really work with our data team and our interventionists and look at all their scores and go from there and see, what's our next step need to be, what do we need to differentiate for this student versus, another student. So mainly we do AimsWeb for reading. For math, we do CFAs. So for every skill that we teach, we do pre-assessment, an assessment, and a post-assessment. So we see what they know coming in, and then we all get together and we decide, okay, we know they know this already, what can we do to get here, and then we reassess through the middle, and then after we're done teaching, we see who got that concept, who doesn't, who might still need more work for that.
Do you evaluate them socially as well?
I mean, yes, as a teacher, you kind of just pick up on their social cues. I mean, every kid is different, and it's sometimes easier to do it for a 5-year-old because they don't realize that they shouldn't tell you everything they hear and see.
Yeah.
So there are some students that will tell you everything, and then there are other students that are the complete opposite that have never been taught to talk to someone, about their feelings or things like that. So there are some students that really kind of shut down versus just tell you everything. So you just kind of have to get to know your students and learn their personality and what works best for them. So.
What are your strengths as a teacher?
My strengths. I would say that I have pretty good classroom management. I like to give my kids some room to do, what they choose to do, but we're pretty structured. I've heard that I have good classroom management. Our principal has came to me and said that before. It just kind of came naturally for me. I, really front-loaded my expectations from the very first day over and over and over again what I expected of them. And so by doing that from the very beginning, they really never knew any different. They didn't realize, it could be like this, but we're supposed to do this, because I just, from the very beginning, started with expectations, and I modeled for them what I wanted them to do. I showed them, and I'm talking like opening their snack, opening their milk, everything we do throughout the day, I modeled everything. So working on expectations from the very beginning has really helped me to have strong classroom management, I think.
And what were some of your expectations?
So we, as a building, have a building-wide behavior matrix. So as a building, we're supposed to have similar expectations for our students. So for things such as like walking in the hallway, all of our students, no matter whose class they're in, should have their hands to their side. They should be walking on the red line in our hallway. They should have a quiet voice. So we have building-wide expectations like that. In my classroom, I like to teach them, how to respect an adult, for one. A lot of them have never been taught that, so a lot of them will talk the entire time you're talking. So I really work on teaching them, okay, if you were the one up here doing this, what would you want me to be doing? And they'll be like, oh yeah, I should be sitting quietly,
Yeah.
So I really try to teach them how to respect an adult and how to do the things they're doing because they want to, and how they make them feel, not because that's what I said you're going to do. I try to teach them how it makes others feel when they act a certain way or when they're saying certain words, how would it make them feel? And then, try to put that in return and teach them that that's how it, makes the teacher feel that way as well.
Yeah.
So.
Do you think you have any weaknesses as a teacher?
Ooh, yes. Yeah, several. I can be short-tempered, so a lack of patience sometimes is hard. It is exhausting. I mean, it's a hard job. I also get extra or overly connected, I guess, and so I hold everything on my plate. If they aren't doing good, I blame it on myself instead of just thinking of what I could do better. I lose sleep over it constantly. I mean, I have these kids more than I have my own children. I'm with these kids more than that, so I pour my heart and soul into it, which I think is a good thing. But I also struggle to just kind of let go sometimes and enjoy my personal family. So I guess balancing work and home life is hard for me.
Yeah. What time are we on?
Got 3 minutes left.
Can we come up with another question?
Well, I still got one more, but I was gonna. So, what would be some good goals for my first year as a new teacher?
So I think that me being an aide in the building, or not just necessarily in my building, but being able to kind of see how a classroom works every single day. I subbed before I was an aide, and you get some kind of, intel from being a sub, but it's different when you're in the same classroom day after day after day. So I would say lots of observations for one, just being able to actually see what it's like in the classroom. I mean, you can read about it and you can, that kind of thing, but it doesn't always go like the textbook. And so just getting a lot of hands-on experience, I think, would be a good idea. Coming up with a kind of a plan, I guess, before you start. If you want to do higher high school, if you want to do junior high, middle school, whatever you think, go and observe other grades too. Because I never thought I wanted to do kindergarten. When I subbed in a kindergarten class and it was horrible. It was so bad. So I was like, I'm never teaching kindergarten. And then I ended up getting that AIDS position, and I got to see what it was like, not just as a sub, but as their daily instructor, and it really makes a big difference. So I would suggest, if you have your heart set on high school or middle school or whatever, branch out a little bit just to observe and see the other places and other grades too, because I think that, it might not change yours, but definitely seeing how it worked on a daily basis changed my opinion of what kindergarten would be like. So.
Okay. As a building in the kindergarten center, what do you guys do to collaborate together with other teachers and staff?
So that's honestly one of my favorite parts about working at the kindergarten center is that we're all kindergarten teachers. So no matter which teacher you turn to, they're all going to have ideas and reading stations or math stations or whatever we're working on. We're all working on similar ideas and techniques, but learning to see how each of them do it just a little bit differently is so nice to be able to see, oh, okay, so this might not be working right now for my kids, but maybe I could try what she's doing and see if that helps. So we also collaborate with our data teams. We have 4 pods in our building, which is the teachers that are surrounding you. We meet monthly and we talk about our data. We talk about, so what were some of the misconceptions that the kids had on 0 through 5. So then we would say, lack of recognition, lack of exposure. There are some kids that just haven't been anywhere. And then we talk about also what could we do to get them to where they need to be. So we could use a multi-sensory approach. We could, make little jingle songs to teach them to remember how to write the numbers. So we just really try to work together to give ideas to our other teachers. That way, I might be struggling with getting 5 of my kids to learn 0 through 5, and she might have some great idea that I haven't tried yet. So just really, we talk together a lot. What are you doing for this? What are you going to do next? Our next idea is 6 through 10. What are you going to do for the kids that already know 6 through 10? Because there are going to be some kids that already know that. So just really talking together and planning ahead too is important. Don't wait till the last minute to figure out what you're going to do. We look ahead, we think, okay, what are we going to do next? What can we do? What can we do to make it easier for each other? That kind of thing. What can we share? That kind of thing. So we really collaborate together well in this building, I think, because we all are kindergarten teachers, so we all are on the same page, the same